All right, good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to do my video for the week now because I like to keep you guys informed and educated. And I think it's important to keep moving forward with getting the questions out there on the internet that I get asked every single day by clients. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Ken Norton and I am the owner of PanamaProperties.com. We have offices in Petitsi, Panama City, and Boquete. So the topic that we're going to cover today is about credit in Panama. This is a question that comes up a lot, obviously, in the real estate business, as we have more and more people that are coming here, and the people that are coming here tend to be younger and younger all the time. We're into a lot of Generation X people, which are a lot of younger retirees or semi-retirees or digital nomads that are coming here between, I'd say, 45 to 55 years old recently. And with that generation and people not having pensions and not having the money that our parents did, as far as the equity growth in the homes that the baby boomers saw, people are coming here and they're obviously looking for credit in order to help buy homes, real estate, investments, and other types of properties. Now, that being said, it's a question that I get asked all the time, and it's basically an answer that I have to give a resounding and quick no to. It is very, very difficult for us foreigners to come here to Panama and get credit right away, as in stepping off the plane and a bank willing to lend us money. The reason for that is basically, we don't exist here in Panama, okay? I do. I've been here now edging on 5 years, and I have tax returns, I have credit cards, I have other debt that I've taken on in order to build my credit history. But when I first came here, and when you first come here, you just simply do not exist here. It is a different country. Your credit history does not come with you from America, Canada, Europe, or wherever you're moving from. Okay, some banks will take into account your credit score from back home, but as they have no connection or ability to verify that, they just look at their own credit history in their own country as we would in our own countries where we came from. If a foreigner comes to America, American banks don't look at their credit history from their own home country. They want to know what credit history they have in America. Same goes for Canada and other countries that are similar, okay? So a lot of people, when they come here, they're very surprised when I say it is very, very difficult for them to obtain a mortgage because they don't exist here and they have no credit history, okay? Now, there's exceptions to those rules sometimes. If you can prove lifetime income, i.e. a pension. So I have helped people, for example, retired Marines, retired military professionals that come in, maybe they're 45, 46 years old, and they have a lifetime pension from the military, and getting them a mortgage is possible, but typically the banks are still going to be looking for 30 to 40% deposits, okay? Sometimes as high as a 50% down payment on the property that they're buying. And then you're going to look at quite often shorter mortgage terms of 15, 20 years. Lots of times people that are stepping fresh off the plane, even with 50% down, cannot obtain 25 or 30-year mortgages. Of course, it does depend on the bank, but these are the generalized terms that I tend to face when I'm dealing with these questions every day. Okay. Also, when you're dealing with local lenders such as banks and whatnot, you're going to be looking usually at higher interest rates, sometimes 2, 3, or 4% above what prime is or what local Panamanians are. Why? Because the banks are taking on great risk. The banks are full of cash. The banks don't feel like they have to lend money here. The banks don't want to take on the risk of dealing with a foreigner with little or no credit history. Okay. There's also going to ask you for a lot more documents if you're applying for a loan. Even open up a bank account, you need to have, bank statements. You need to have tax returns. You need to have credit history reports. You need to have income. If you're self-employed, you're coming from a self-employed situation in your home country, it gets even more difficult, okay? So that's kind of what it comes down to. Also, the banks here like to see people that are earning money in US dollars. Okay, so if you're coming from Europe, it's even more difficult to get loans, mortgages, credit right off the bat. Yeah, but Americans coming making US dollars, that can easily transfer US dollars in. There's no currency fluctuation volatility, which equals risk if somebody's making US dollars, because in Panama we operate on the US dollar. So the banks don't have to worry. For example, me, I'm a Canadian, all of a sudden my money's worth 80 cents to the US. We have a giant currency fluctuation within a year. I'm making 60 cents to the dollar of the US, and all of a sudden I can't service the debt. They don't like to see that. They like to see people coming in making US dollars, okay? The mortgage requirements here are also a lot more strict than what we're used to. Lots of times banks will send out their own appraisers on the property that you're looking at buying. You have to pay that appraiser to come out. They work for the bank, and that appraiser is going to do an assessment on what they feel as though the value of the home is in order to represent the bank's interest on what they're lending, okay? So what's the answer? Because so far I've sounded extremely negative in what I'm talking about. So I guess the question becomes, what's the answer? Well, there has been more owner financing options popping up specifically through our agency. I've talked to a lot more of the sellers saying, look, if you want out of your property, you want it sold faster, let's look at owner financing options. This year in 2025, we've sold a lot of owner financing homes. Okay, there are other people out there looking at owner financing or putting, the offer forward with an owner financing, ability where the sellers get to earn interest and maybe make an extra $50,000, $60,000 over a 10-year period for carrying you. Okay, what do you actually need to do if you want to come here and you want to borrow money? However, you got to do like what I did. I had to establish credit. Okay, one of the ways that I established credit was that I put money down on secure credit cards. Okay, so right off the bat, I knew that I had to build my credit because I was going to be living here for a long time. So I went to the bank and I said, I need a credit card. They said, okay, we're going to give you up to 70% borrowing on that credit card based on the money that you put down. So if I wanted $1,000 of borrowing, I had to put $1,300 or $1,400 down on a credit card, and then I could use that credit card up to $1,000, and I had a secure amount of money against that credit card for a long time. Okay, a long time. In fact, that just got released not long ago. Okay, sometimes you can go out, you can get a small loan from, buy a very cheap car and take a high interest loan on that. It shows your ability to service the debt. File taxes. If you're going to move here, file taxes, okay? File personal taxes, file business taxes. After you got a couple years of tax returns to the Panamanian government showing that you're earning money, that you're filing taxes, that you're paying the government here, basically the banks will start to talk to you, the car loan companies will start to talk to you. Why? Because now you exist as a person here. So that's extremely important, okay? So don't expect to walk into Panama and come here and just borrow money right away from a bank. Even if you have an 890 credit score from back home, it doesn't matter, okay? They will look at that. It does count as some small points to your ability to borrow, but it's not the same, okay? It's not the same. If you have a pension and you're going to try and borrow money against some type of a pension, expect to have to deposit that money into your Panamanian bank account, okay? Any questions on this? Again, my name's Ken. I'm the owner at PanamaProperties.com. My phone number, my email, my everything is plastered all over my website, www.panama-properties.com. You can contact me anytime. You can WhatsApp me. I'm happy to try and help if I can help. If not, I'll try and point you in the right direction to some of the professionals that we have. But this is a subject that I think is very important to educate people on, to inform people on where credit sits. Okay, you have a nice day, and talk to everybody soon.